Good morning, guys. My name is Ricardo Diaz, and I am the patriotic immigrant. So, this is a new podcast that I'm starting. Clearly, it's very low budget. I'm in my office in my house. This is my dog, Jackie. She's a rescue terrier. And yeah, let's get started. This podcast is mainly just to talk about the state of our country, right? I'm Cuban, right? I was born in Cuba. My family immigrated here legally through a policy that existed back in the early '90s. My grandfather claimed my dad. My dad was married to my mom, and obviously I was about 4 years old, and we came from Havana, Cuba. I've been in this country since I was just turned 4. I've always considered myself a patriot. I've always considered myself an American, even though I didn't always have citizenship, which, I learned that later on in life. I was raised in Miami, Florida, right? Big Cuban population, surrounded by family. Not religious. We were always Catholics. I found Christ a little bit later in life, after I joined the Army. I joined the Army in 2008. I just, if I could be honest as to why I did it, I was lost. I was working, I was living up in Orlando, working in Disney World as a cook, and 60 hours a week, and around early 2008, fuel prices were almost like $5 a gallon, right around that whole house crisis with the real estate bubble and the banks. We'll get into that eventually. And yeah, I joined the Army. I was lost. I considered the Navy first. I just didn't like their vibe. The Army guys, we went to the gym. The recruiters, we went to the gym. We worked out. It was nice. And then from there, I enlisted. And then I went home and told my family, and they're like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah. I need some purpose." I was a titty baby, just obsessed with whatever my mom wanted me to do, I would do, and I just wanted to just go find myself. I signed up to be a DSETS repairer, which is a type of electrical system on tanks. Lo and behold, when I went to Afghanistan, there were no tanks, so I was kicked out of the tank platoon and thrown into an infantry platoon, where I provided support. I repaired generators on our small little outpost. Pulled security. When our cook had some issues, I took over cooking duties. I helped set up the AC, the generators, the grid systems, washers, dryers, right? We set all that up. And then we also did patrols. I didn't do a lot of patrols. I went out a handful of times. I just didn't want to be called a pogue. For those that don't know, a pogue is a POG, person other than grunt. And I just didn't want to be called the pogue. So I figured if I do some patrols, get my CAB, my combat action badge, then no one can ever call me a pogue again. And yeah, I got a little bit more than I can chew, but it's all right. It's all good. I was married. I had a kid. Got out of the Army. Then I did some contract work in Afghanistan, working for a company called AC First. AC First is a collaboration for federal contracts from AECOM, AECOM, and CACI, CACI. Those are two big defense contractors, and they teamed up to create this third entity and get even more contracts. There I was a howitzer repairer, and I was making about $120,000 back in 2012. It was tax-free money, so it was a huge incentive to do it. So I did it, and did a lot of patrols. I traveled all of Afghanistan, and yeah, I had plenty of friends die during the war, and somehow, surprisingly yet not surprisingly, more friends die after the war. Um, so just fast forward a little bit. In 2024, I voted for Donald Trump. That was actually my first time voting. I never felt a connection before then, or a desire to vote, but I thought the most important thing for me to do in 2024 was vote. They shot him, they tried to kill him, they tried to silence him, they tried to imprison him, and I said, oh shit, this guy is for us. This look at how they're treating him. They're treating one of their own like shit because they need to silence him. And since 2024, I've been very politically motivated to just continue to be supportive, and this is my country, this is my home. Fuel prices are going up. I still can't afford to buy a house. My wife has a job, I have a job, and I'm also a disabled veteran, and there's basically three incomes, and I can't afford a house in South Florida. Yeah, I just and I'm not saying that's because of policies, but I'm saying when you look at the housing in the 80s, and we don't even have to go back to the 1950s and 60s. Just go back to the 80s. Houses were way more affordable, and even adjusting for inflation. And again, in the 80s, we still had AC, we still had a building regulation. So, we still had all these safety features in the 80s, yet houses were way more affordable. Universities were way more affordable. Not that universities even matter at this point. Most people know that to be someone in 2026, you need a technical trade. You need to be a plumber, a mechanic, a HVAC repairer. Those are the jobs that are going to set you up for life, But IT and computer repair, that's coding, that's done. That's done. And I have a couple of bulletin points if you keep me looking. I'm looking at my computer trying to get myself situated before I go off on rants. After around when the whole Israel thing with Gaza and this whole stuff started happening, and I was like, it sucks. Like, the Israelis they're getting just hit from every angle, and it's not fair to them. And then any type of deep dive into any of that, I'm like, oh, they're provoking it. Israeli is provoking these conflicts. Israeli is lying, and then you start going down these rabbit holes of Israeli intel for us to go into Iraq, Israeli intel, about the weapons of mass destruction. I don't want to get into all that. Maybe I will eventually, but right now I just want to stick to facts. And I have a couple of statistics here. The U.S., since the Trump administration, right, in 2024, has given continuous support in the form of aid packages to Israel in the amount of $21.7 billion. $21.7 billion in aid so that Israel can continue to demolish Gaza. That is just in money. Beyond that, $21.7, $30 billion has been allocated in long-term arms sales agreement for commitment for weapons and services scheduled to be delivered in the years to come. What does that mean? That means $30 billion over the next few years, where the U.S. buys weapons from U.S. manufacturers and then gives them to Israel. Not sells them with high interest rates, gives them another $30 billion in weapons. That's drones from Palantir, J.D. Vance's company. That's all Boeing. That's all this other nonsense. That's just ridiculous. $30 billion. They already destroyed Gaza. It's gone. It's gone. So what do we need? What do they need to continue to do? Right? And then outside of that, we're also giving them money to support with their operations in other regions like Libya, Yemen. Like, this is another $9 to $12 billion. Approximately, since 2024 to 2026, we've given them between $61 and $63.7 billion. I thought that was ridiculous. I looked into Uh, just simple. What would it cost to end veteran homelessness in America? Right? Like, where could we have used that money instead? I'm like, can we solve some of the problems that we have in this country with that money? And I did some research. I looked up information from the National Alliance to End Homelessness, Housing First Initiatives, and SSVF, which is some sort of Veterans First program for housing. Between all those, rehousing and providing shelter for the homeless would require an estimate $442 million a year. Right? So if you divide the $63 billion by the $440 million annually, you can end homelessness for 145 years. Veteran homelessness. I'm only talking about my veteran community. I feel for the entire United States, but I believe those that sacrifice their mind, body, and soul come first. I believe every person that was born in this country, or like me, was born outside of this country and came here, owes it to this country to maybe not serve in combat, right? You can Red Cross, there's Peace Corps, whatever. You could serve reservists, the National Guards, any of that. Now, granted, not everyone can. There's mental health issues, there's physical disabilities, etc. Mental health issues, of course. And those people should not be treated any less in the veteran community. But I still feel that the veteran community should be treated better than the rest of the communities in this country, right? We're a minority. We're about 3% of the population. Less, probably today. We are a protected class, and we have tons of benefits. I benefit tremendously from the VA hospital. I get all my health there. I got Champ VA for my wife. Dental, vision. I have zero complaints. Yes, the appointments take long. Yes, it's a little bit chaotic. Yes, sometimes their SOPs, standard operating procedures, don't make any sense, and they're not like other hospitals. Yes, it's a free service, and I'm grateful. My father served as a conscripted soldier in Cuba. He was hurt, and guess what? Fuck him. Figure it out, right? There is no love for veterans of any other country like there is love for our Americans today, right? And with that being said, veteran homelessness is important to me. Helping out, making sure they get treatment. I know I see them getting taken care of at the VA every time I'm there. I go to there for physical therapy and chiropractic services, and I see them being taken care of, so I know they're taking care of them. Not all of them have the resources. Some of them have mental health issues, and they can't get to these hospitals. If we just spent just 1% of our resources that we spent giving money to Israel to commit genocide in Gaza, to the U.S., to our veterans, we can take care of most of them. And I don't know why our politicians are not talking about this. They tax the rich and don't tax the poor, and I don't care. That's not the point. Fucking, where's the money that you have now? You're giving it away. Every single one of these politicians are all pro-Israel, and we need to, whatever. I just saw an Instagram post from the Miami-Dade School District saying, a big post with the Israeli flag saying we need to end Israel hate in America. You have school shootings in Miami-Dade County. You had 20-something kids killed in Parkland. Broward County is the next county over. You have school shootings all the time in Miami-Dade County. Not one word for them. Not one word for the Palestinians who had all their families killed by the Israeli Special Forces or the Israeli IDF or whatever they're called. Not one word for the people that were genocided, but all the love for the Israeli, for the Jewish community. I absolutely believe the Jewish community is allowed to live. Yes, I'm not talking about the Jewish community. I'm talking about Israel. This is my first podcast. My wife's coffee mug because she broke all of mine. And my dog left. She doesn't like my political rants. She's a Democrat. Again, I'll be doing more podcasts like this. I'll be doing short form videos, some commentary stuff. I just wanted to do my initial podcast episode, and hopefully I will see you on the next video. Thank you again so much. My name is Ricardo. People call me Rick. Just my love to all my fellow veterans, to the veteran community, to my fellow Americans. I love you. I just want this country to be great. I'm so tired of us just not prospering, and other nations are using our taxpayers to benefit. We could be solving so many issues with that money in this country. And I'm not saying be an isolationist, but damn, does that not sound appeasing? Does that not sound like if we just worry about us, we still need to trade with other nations, right? Because that's how we get goods and services and affordable stuff. And I get that. But honestly, if we took care of this nation, I would rather pay that additional 30% to buy US made products and then just not buy shit from China or Taiwan or whatever. I honestly believe most Americans would agree with me, right? Pay 30% more for our bullshit goods, right? And so our Amazon products and our Temu products, just buy them from American companies. Pay the 20% difference. However, doing that removes our dependency on stuff from China and these other nations. We can produce it ourselves, right? We have the resources. We have a huge, massive country. We can produce most of the things that we want here. It'll be a little bit more expensive, but we're doing it humanely, right? And we're benefiting the American people. I think that's worth it, right? If you create more jobs, more high income jobs, right? And that can be back to manufacturing, textile, agriculture, right? We can do these things. And yes, it'll be more expensive. And yes, it'll suck. And yes, these companies, instead of making, 4,000% profit a year, they'll make 300% profit a year. Okay, that's fine. But because your CEO gets a percentage of profits as their bonus, so they need a $40 million bonus on top of their $12 million salary, right? Look at that tech company that makes the cameras for the body cam, I don't know what it is, right? That CEO made like $52 million. His average employees make $25 an hour, and they're all in America. How is that fair, right? How that company should not be allowed to make billions of dollars in profit, right? By keeping wages low so they can have their profits high, and the CEO makes $40 million in bonuses. That is ridiculous. It doesn't even begin to make any type of sense. I don't think we should be interfering with private businesses, right? That's their problem. But local governments buying from these companies and supporting that bullshit, that's wrong. If you want to give your CEO, a $40 million bonus, that's on you. But no U.S. company, no U.S. government agency should be buying from that company. Where the average employee makes $20 an hour, but the CEO makes $40 million a year? No. That just, no. Again, sorry for the rant. I really do love this country, and I think we need to have discourse and have conversations. If you agree, leave a comment, like, follow, all that stuff. I really do want to hear from you. I'm semi-retired, so I have a lot of downtime. So I am willing to engage with you guys in the comment section. Again, Instagram, Twitter, not Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and X, not Twitter, X. All right. Thank you again so much. And